or were you compensated, or how did? Because Pipeline is not your company, you work for them, right?
That's right. So the producer side of me, I knew we had kind of a break between projects coming up at the time, and we'd have a little team. Studios try to hold on to their core artists as long as they can. So I thought this would be perfect time to kind of fit it in between projects.
Right.
But, we had a little bit of a budget. But because I had done a lot of the concept art and a full storyboard, I had cut off a lot of the budget we ended up going with. It was a lot smaller. And for them, it was nothing. So we kind of had a quick team going into this.
Right. First of all, half the song, you cut off half the song, right? Because was that for time purposes?
So that's what happened. So when we decided it was going to be Forget It Up, I said, well, look, it's not down the drain length, but it's still fairly long, and you guys want it really soon. So is there a way we could do like a couple different edits of it? Like, would that be enough? And he said, that's a great idea. So he sent me 2 versions of it a couple of days later, and he said, pick the one you think fits best. So I picked one, and then off we went. So I do have a second version that's kind of a cool edit of the song. But we chose, it was edited down to allow us to get the work done in time, basically.
Wow, okay.
Okay. So that's why it's a lot shorter than the album version.
Yeah.
Correct. And I'm sure that we didn't pick down the drain.
Right.
Right.
Because I'd still be working on it, probably.
Yep.
So tell us, how would you describe the story for the listeners? We're going to post the video up on our Facebook site so everybody can take a look at it. It's really, really cool, but I don't want to spoil it. So why don't you take us through the video and tell us the storyline?
The idea came from, because as you guys remember, record and the CD had like a heat-sensitive cover, right?
Right.
So he said, look, all I want is like, and I had already worked that into the concept. And look, it's a very loose concept, and I did that on purpose so it could translate to any of the songs, because I was not sure which one they were going to end up choosing, right? It's the up attitude of the song that Sammy's always saying, get it up, the positive attitude. And I just had a character who was, most people walking through life like zombies, and, when you meet a certain person who kind of just releases that, or a positive person that can release that, that get it up vibe.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty much, it's a loose concept, right? I just had this one character, basically, like, every time she touches one of the other zombies, it kind of, reverts them, and kind of, their positive life force kind of goes up into the sky. Right. And at the end, it looks like they're doing like a giant Chickenfoot logo, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting because my interpretation of the whole thing was, I thought it was like the girl kind of hears the music, and it's the band's music that kind of reinvigorates the whole city because their music was so powerful, and they kind of came off as cartoon versions of each band member, and they're all sort of like, they look like superheroes in a way,
Michael, well, funny you say that, because yes, that is the part I was going for. She's kind of enticed by the band, right?
Right.
That part was kind of like a chant.
Right.
It's like a chanting part. So the edit had that chanting part come in earlier, so it's kind of like she's being enticed, right?
Totally, yeah, that's obvious, yeah.
It's funny you say the superheroes, because, when I first pitched it, I sent them a link to, some of the Gorillaz videos, which, are, in my opinion, the pinnacle of animation and, animated music videos, right? So we were trying to go for that, but I said, look, the good thing about animation, you guys can look any age or style that you like. And they kind of said, what about Hellboy? So I do have some rough versions before what ended up in the video, but they were straight on Mike Mignola Hellboy versions of the characters.
Wow.
But we had to soften them up a little bit so they'd be easier to animate.
Yeah.
At the speed we were going. Trying to go for that superhero vibe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. So who suggested Hellboy, that they were that familiar with it?
It could have been Carter. I think Carter, because he and I went back and forth. Like, because I'm in Toronto and he's in California, we would just talk every day through emails, right? As the video progressed, I said to him, look, at each stage, I'm going to show you a different thing. And, you give me feedback. When I show you this, I need your feedback on specifically that thing, and we'll move to the next stage, right? Because he's not really familiar with production of animation. So I would send things back and forth. So as we started the concept, I think it could have come from him, kind of the Hellboy type of vibe. But I do remember them talking about, the band, they were in their 50s, late 50s at this point. At least Sammy was, right? So they wanted to go for kind of a superhero type vibe, right? So I said, well, look, in animation, you can be any age you want.
Right. That's true. In fact, I break Dave's balls all the time because his little emoji guy in his phone I always tell him that he's so fit. I mean, Dave's a thin guy, but it's funny, like his little emoji self looks like he works out like daily 3 hours a day, and he's all buff. And I have my little emoji guy as being like chubby and bald. And I'm like, you know what? How about being a little more realistic with your little emoji guy? So,
I see myself in a very positive light.
I think it's wonderful.
That's your issue, not mine.
Okay. So now when I was watching your video, I was like, Michael Anthony has a lot to thank this guy for.
Well, and I had a similar thought too, because I thought Sammy looked really good too.
Yeah.
So were there any characteristics of the band from real life that influenced your animation versions of them?
Well, we were trying to make it look like them as much as possible. But one thing I really wanted to do was try to avoid, because they all have signature instruments, right?
Yeah.
Right. Especially Satriani, and I think at that time Michael Anthony was playing the Yamaha.
Right.
Like a signature Yamaha. So I wanted to make sure that for instruments, the animation team weren't trying to redraw those to the specific detail, because I know that those companies are very cognizant and aware about how their instruments are conveyed in videos.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We just outright took photos of the instruments, and that's why they look so photoreal, is that we just basically brought their instruments right into the software.
Awesome. And so tell me, what was the band's reaction to the final product?
Well, they loved it. I was invited. It actually ended up, they were so happy I got invited. Like when it came out, I think it did even better than I think Carter thought it was going to do.
Okay.
Because it was animated, it got the video into different social media avenues that maybe a live action video may not have. At least it expanded where they could show it, I guess.
Wow.
And it ended up, they invited me to the 20th anniversary of the Cabo Wabo Cantina.
Wow.
Thanks for the video.
Wow.
Nice.
That's great. And so did you go backstage and go to the show and everything, or? It
was kind of a crazy night. It was basically, the band wanted to say thank you for having it turn out so well, and because they didn't really work with me, because I worked straight with Carter. I guess the other person that was kind of in the mix was, at the time, Nick Brigden, who was Satriani's manager. It was Nick and Carter that kind of co-managed Chickenfoot together, right? So sometimes Nick would be in the background or have some notes, but at the Cantina party, it was like basically to meet the band and say thanks, and they wanted to ask how it was made and whatnot. But also under the impression that maybe there could be something else animated that come along after that.
Wow.
Like maybe a sequel to the video or something. So it was kind of like, thank you.
Right.
/ meet and greet / what else could we do together? Possibly,
right. And so was there going to be a future project, you think, or? So
at that time, that's when Satriani, so it was in between Chickenfoot 3 and the first album. And Satriani was working on Wormholes. Well, I can't remember the name of that album exactly now. But,
Wormholes and Wizards or something. Or I forgot the name of it. I listen to it all the time, but I forgot the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was working on that at the time. So at the Cantina, he was kind of running me through some of the songs and said, hey, if we were going to continue this, this kind of vague story we have in this one, do I have any ideas where we could continue it into one of his songs possibly? So I started doing some concept work for that. But then Carter said, no, I think we should probably have it. Oh, no, sorry, I missed a part. So, yeah, we talked about Wormhole Wizards. And then I did do some concept work back and forth. And we had some, things slowed down a bit because obviously the video was done. So now it's just kind of like exploring maybe some ideas. So over the next few months, when that CD was released, Satriani came to Toronto on that solo tour. And we met backstage at one of his gigs. I had showed him some of the artwork I had at that point. I had it was kind of like a semi-sequel that kind of continues that storyline into space aboard a spaceship that was named after Satriani's high school music teacher. I thought that'd be a cool thing to hide in there for the fans.
Okay, gotcha.
You guys probably know his teacher's name. It's the same teacher that I think Steve Vai and him had.
Yeah, I do.
Really turned them both on to playing music.
Yeah, I interviewed them both about it. His name escapes me right now. Interviewed them both about that guy because he's from Long Island, and I reported on it.
That's right. Right. Well, yeah. I had the ship that they were. I had the ship named after this guy, right?
Oh, wow.
So I was trying to hide all kinds of things in there, and the spaceship kind of looked like the Chickenfoot logo.
Right.
So then they said, okay, that's cool, but then it wouldn't have been done in time for that CDs released. That was the thing. By the time we kind of got to an idea that we could all kind of agree upon, it looked like that window had passed. And then they are now working on the next Chickenfoot album.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then it became, well, look, why don't we just not do a sequel? And now that we have more time to ramp up to the CD's release.
Right.
Because when I talked to them about Get It Up, the CD had already been out for most of the summer, right?
Right.
Right.
So we're kind of late in terms of starting a video. But I said, well, look, now we're so far ahead. If we start now, I mean, the more time you start ahead, the cheaper it could be.
Right.
So I said, why don't we start thinking of ideas, a brand new idea, and now that we trust each other, because Carter said, they didn't know me at all, right?
Right.
And he said, we trust you, man. You did a great job for us. Let's think of a brand new idea and really go all out. So I said, okay. So I did a whole bunch more concept art, not knowing what the song would be even at that point.
Right.
And he said, when they have something ready, they'd let me know.
Okay.
So I traded artwork back and forth with Carter, and he'd have some notes here and there, or kind of lay an idea that I go, okay, that's good. I'll take that and play with that for a little bit. And I did a whole bunch of concept paintings. And then they said, look, we got a song called Bigfoot.
Right.
And it kind of lends itself to the stuff you've been doing. So do you think you could listen to the song and see what you think? And when I heard it, I was floored. That was great.
It was a great song.
And I was shocked at how closely it matched to the artwork I was making, which is about all those guys driving their favorite cars.
Oh, wow.
And basically not blowing each other off the road and killing each other.
Right.
And at one point, you see Sandy kind of run Mikey off the road, his car explodes, and you realize, oh my God, he just killed Mikey? And you realize it's a video game, and Mikey 2 seconds later, he's back to life, right, in another car. It's a video game.
Even in the animation, Mikey always gets the short end of the stick.
Poor Mikey.
Poor Mike.
But yeah, and then I had at the end, the song would kind of end, and with a knock at the door, and it would go to live action of Carter opening the door going, hey guys, 2 minutes till showtime, and it's Sammy, Mike, Chad, and Joe, each with like die-cast versions of the cars, like small versions in their hands, like they were playing cars. Like
Oh,
they were
wow,
kids.
that's so cool.
Ah, okay.
And then they all leave their cars on the table and run out the door, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we had that going.
Yeah.
And then as I finished the animatic, I sent the last note to Carter. I sent it to him late at night one night, and the next morning I got a response back. Like I'd always get a response back, only this time it was from his wife. And she said, Carter passed away yesterday.
Whoa.
And I was...
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. He passed away during the
Yeah.
making of the album. That's
he
right.
passed away in the middle of the making of it, right?
How did he die?
He had stomach cancer, and I guess he never told me. He and I were not close enough that he'd reveal stuff like that.
Right.
But
Wow.
we'd become like pretty good friends. We had a good camaraderie, and we kind of riffed on each other's ideas.
Wow.
I was really saddened to hear that he had passed.
That's
It just really
heartbreaking.
floored me, right?
Jesus
Oh, man.
Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He was a great guy, and it's funny. Not funny, but after he passed, when I saw his tributes and Sandy's tributes and all the stuff that came pouring in about Carter, I had no idea just how big he was in the industry.
Wow.
How many people he knew and worked with, right?
That's incredible. Jeez.
But I do remember after he passed, I saw those accolades from all these different musicians and saying what a great guy he was.
Yeah.
I do remember during one of our sit-down meetings, every time the tour would come through, I would see him. Because Sammy came back for his book tour. That was it. Came
Right.
back right after the Get It Up video for his book tour.
Right.
And Carter was there. So we'd always meet in the lobby of this hotel in Toronto, right? It was kind of our office in a way. And he had to step out of our meeting for 2 seconds and take a phone call. And I swear he was talking with Jimmy Page and Rob Plant about something.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah, it was around the time when there was rumors about Sandy being part of a Zeppelin reunion or whatnot.
Yeah. There's always been
And
that
I swear
rumor.
he took a call from Jimmy Page. I swear the person on the other line was Jimmy Page. I said to my
Wow.
wife, I said, the way he's answering and the things he's saying,
Oh, my
that sounds
God.
like Jimmy Page.
There's always been that rumor that Sammy tried out, but he says he didn't. So I don't...
Yeah, I don't know how far I got, and I was trying not to eavesdrop, but when you could just hear by the answers. I couldn't hear the other person on the other line, but the answers that Carter was saying, I swear that was Jimmy Page. So who knows what they were talking about, but that was such a cool thing to...
That's wild.
You put me on hold for Jimmy Page.
That's crazy.
Right. So I guess after his passing, that unfortunately put the kibosh on the project.
Well, what happened was that when he passed, so like I said, Chickenfoot was co-managed by Carter and Nick Brigden, Satriani's manager, right?
Right.
Okay.
So then I was kind of passed over to Nick, who was not a stranger because he'd kind of been in the background. I met him a couple times.
Sure.
we kind of picked up the torch on Bigfoot, and I put together a production schedule. When Satriani came through town on that his tour, it was actually his birthday. The day we met was his birthday. And I got to see the soundtrack, and then I had dinner with Nick Brickton, and we kind of went over the whole schedule, the budget, and it was good to go. So we finalized it on Satriani's birthday, and we had birthday cake. And at this point, it's funny because